People travel for a myriad of reasons. Some are simply seeking a holiday, others relaxation, or want only to escape stress. Traveling to far lands is such an urge for some people. Penang is a magical city, a multi-ethnic place in Malaysia's northwest. The majority are Chinese, so their culture is more visible. The rest are Indian and Malay. The country is ruled by Malays. However, only in Penang is there a Chinese governor. Penang is a special state. Arriving at the state capital, Georgetown, inside the Indian district, fragrances from everywhere and Tamil music are blending. People here are happy. Depression seems impossible. Everybody is friendly and smiling, so foreigners feel less like tourists and more like friends. Life in Penang is vibrant. Going with the flow, everywhere an activity is waiting for you. When you are entering the streets while passing a Chinese opera, other people are playfully chasing ghosts. And a little ahead, you may be pleasantly surprised to find yourself swept up by an Indian temple festival. All hours, everywhere, you can eat. Penang has thousands of temples, especially Taoist Buddhist temples, which could be anywhere. Each temple has a different god. People plead with their gods like a council with hundreds of deities. For example, if you want children, there is a related god. If you wish to marry, there is a specific deity. If you want money, you find that deity. Temples are open for everyone. Everybody shows great respect about worship. And deities get foods and drinks as offerings. Most temples have been restored. Outer walls from single pieces of stone were carved. The symbol of power is a dragon, found on the columns at the entrance. Lamps and temples go hand in hand. Why does Penang have so many extravagant rituals? Actually, to understand is not so difficult. Everybody can give to temple societies, to donate, and this amount is tax exempt. Each temple has its own association. The Chinese community donates a lot of money to temple associations. Rich temples especially themselves arrange birthday festivals for their deities. Chinese opera, puppeteering, and lion dance artists receive allocated funding. so performances and rituals honestly support themselves. The Malaysian government doesn't forbid or restrict these events, allowing these artists freedom. Martial arts and calligraphy are also treated with great respect, and a high level of discipline is passed on to generations.
Most these so-called rich people, they pay high tax in order to pay to the government, because in their mind they do think that when I buy a camera, I already pay a tax. Why should I pay more extra tax? So I better use the money for charity. Like I better give the money to buy a wheelchair for the handicapped people. I better go to the old folks home and buy rice, or I better give some money to a temple.
In Penang, the Chinese years ago from China's different regions were immigrating. Generally in Penang, Hokkien is spoken, but other languages are spoken as well. No matter how long people live in Penang, they still hold memories from where their ancestors used to live. There are a variety of clans. One such example is Ang Hua's family, who are members of the Hainan Temple.
Hainan is an island in China. Yeah, if you go to China, Hainan is an island, and it's called Hawaii of the East. And the Hainanese ancestor came from the island of Hainan. Most of them are fishermen before. So when they came to Malaya, they live in a commune. Like a commune means like you cannot go to other clan because you have different dialects. So you must search for the same group, same hobby, same tradition. Then you don't feel that homesick. Even you're a different Chinese group, because China is very big. So once you're Hainanese, you associate with your own group, you have no dialect problem, and you feel at home. By the way, the one you saw, the big statue, is the lady's. Her name is Ma Zhou, Ma Zhu in Chinese. She is known as goddess of the sea. Yeah, sea is a controller of the sea, but only Hainanese believe. Seafarer, the protection of the sea. And even today, we are no more fishermen, but still they respect to her due to their ancestor came from China by boat and safely landed.
Penang's Love Lane Street is home to a Tibetan temple. The temple is known for containing the remains of the Buddha.
That is the relics of the Buddha. So the relics of the Buddha is the remains of the Buddha. It is all like what we human, after we have died, and then all we left is bones. But whatever the Buddha left is the relics of the Buddha. The Buddha has once said in his prayer, in his scroll, it says that for those generations who may not have the opportunity to see me, will see my relics. And seeing my relics is like seeing me. So when you look at the relics, it's like you are looking at the Buddha personally.
Georgetown offers one important view that mainly relates to very unique architecture. There are some buildings here from colonial times, and they are still magnificent. Every day here, the temperature is around 30 degrees, and at this latitude, there is no autumn and no winter. Those here who may not have the opportunities to travel overseas wonder about snow. The weather is usually rainy or sunny, so the walkways surrounding buildings were cleverly designed and provide shelter. People use umbrellas on both rainy and sunny days. The double-storied houses, painted in a variety of colors, provide a bright and dazzling effect. Due to the tropical climate and humidity, ventilation comes behind the wooden shutters, which don't touch the facade. The houses open directly into a wide living room and a central courtyard with a roof open to the sky. These open roofs are part of the house's ventilation. All the windows on the first floor also open to the courtyard. Ornate wooden beams further elaborate the story of this residence. Here, there are fishermen's houses built on top of the pier. The breeze coming from the sea blows under the houses to provide relief during hot weather. It's possible to encounter Chinese operas every day in Penang. On this occasion, we can see Chinese opera in front of the Ta Kam Hong on Muntri Street. These are temporary shows, so the operas take place either in front of the temple or in the courtyard. These performances are not for spectators. They are instead for the temple deities.
Mainland China as a high form of entertainment for the royal family. And nowadays, what you saw in Penang or in KL is more folk opera for Chinese temple. Basically, it's meant for not human, not the people, for gods or the ghosts.
Backstage is a magical gateway between reality and tales. The audience, not knowing about this gateway, only meets the performances. As in many other places in Penang, backstage is open and welcoming to public. The makeup and costumes are so enchanting that preparation is hypnotizing. Devoted performers have finished their preparations for the upcoming week-long shows. Aside from a few curious spectators, there aren't many people. The performers wear antique ketonosus on their feet, similar to those in ancient Greece, to be taller, to be bolder, and to accentuate their characters. The costumes are bright and intricate. The opportunity for poor performers to play deities, warriors, fearless generals, and kings is available in few art forms.
And you cannot, like example, have if there's a war, you cannot have an army like 1,000 people. So you will have a symbolic like a flag. You hold a flag to declare the war. A team and B team. So when they move around, like two person moving around in a circle, means that they declare war. An example, due to the space, if they ride a horse, go to the mountain, you don't see the horse, you don't see the mountain. A chair will be a mountain. Then the horse will be, example, climbing mountain. So this is symbolic. When you're riding a horse, you don't have a real horse, but a person will symbolic like a horse. Example, this is the horse, riding the horse, moving, and the chair will be like a mountain. An example, the warrior come out, you don't see a real warrior. You see a person dressed up, but he will do the like a general, a warrior. So this is like a warrior come out riding a horse and ready for the war. And sometimes you use a blue sky, you use a cloth with the actually white color, then you swing the cloth. And then with the water, with the sea, you are sailing by boat. There's no boat, so you will see somebody by like a rolling. So it's like riding the boat. So these are the symbolic.
They are constantly on a circuit. Their children tour with them. Sharing the same lifestyle, the art form has an indelible effect on children. And upon reaching a certain age, they usually find themselves in the same profession. Penang is an undeniably culinary capital of Southeast Asia. In a dynamic city with such a flow of activity, a variety of good food must be available at all hours. Aside from Chinese, Indian, and Malay cuisine, it's possible to find numerous other tastes. The people here have such an affinity for variety that surrounding countries may seem to have a chauvinistic view about cuisine. Here, there is a curiosity towards new flavors, which is so satisfying to people who share a desire for the spice of life. All the varieties of Chinese cuisine and South Indian cooking are the types of food that one encounters most often. These dishes aren't like any that tourists are accustomed to. So dishes are so different from what you're used to that a wondrous anticipation overtakes you. Tropical flavors are full of surprises. The first mouthful provides the foundation of a symphony, similar to the percussion section of an orchestra. The great anticipation, the second phase of the melody, slowly spreads across the palate. Just as the experience is about to end, spices surprise you, completing the melody and adding to its intensity. In the West, advertised cosmetics offer healthy appearances and beauty, suggesting that success isn't possible without these products. New terms are coined by advertisers as if in a scientific fashion and are introduced to the market. In the East, eating healthy and drinking plenty of water would eliminate the need for applying countless creams on your face and on other parts of your body to appear young. If people can remain looking so young, and are in good health in a place where fruits are sold everywhere and all types of healthy food is readily available 24 hours a day, there may be a need to reconsider Western lifestyles. One of the ways that we can feel the passage of time is through the changing seasons. When living in a place where the temperature remains close to 30 degrees Celsius throughout the year, it isn't easy to tell whether 3 or 6 months have passed. Just as the moon has a different gravitational pull, the rate of time is felt differently in Southeast Asia. Sometimes things seem to be moving slower, but other times much faster. This tranquil environment does good for one's soul, and may be the reason that people are much less stressed. As one enters this relaxed state, it's possible to notice things that were previously unobserved, which can increase productivity. However, this may not be the same for everyone. For some people, being under stress may be necessary to be motivated. With his highly aesthetic display of Kung Fu, we went to interview Ka-Jin Ku. In order to do this, we traveled to one of the most beautiful temples on the island, Ku Kong Si.
Basically, Kung Fu is a general terms for a skilled person, and people use it Kung Fu for martial arts. But in actual, Kung Fu is not means for martial arts, but it's actually the person who have the skill. Kong is means the effort, okay, and Fu can be means person, and Kong can be means a skill and the effort, okay, and Fu is a person. So to combine these two words, Kung Fu, the meaning to say that is a person to have. In order to have the skill, they must put the effort in doing something, then only they get the skill. So Kung Fu need the skill. So the martial arts, we need the skill. So that's why we use Kung Fu to always remind ourselves we need to put a lot of effort in order to be a skilled person. So that's called Kung Fu.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
I've been training Shaolin for more than 20 years under the guidance of the late Grandmaster of Penang Shaolin Associations, Dato' Peng Chai Kim. And he is a very nice guy, very generous, and he treats every student the same. And he always reminds us by having the words saying that 拳打千边身法自然, meaning to say that we need to keep on practice the kata, the forms, and the Shaolin, the martial arts, so that we can get everything natural and understand and get naturally, and everything will go smooth. And another thing that he did tell me is when he's not here anymore, and don't use his name, say that how good is my master, but you have to tell people how good you are, and you need to train more and more. Basically, physical training is we have to train like all the physicals, the stances, the power, the jin. The jin that we're saying is explosion power, or the explosive power that we have. Or maybe you know that what Bruce Lee have, the 1-inch punch, that's the explosion power, which is jin. Jin is something like this, and this is jin. And in order to have all this, we need to train the physicals, and also that the chi and the combinations of everything integrated, then only you can have this. But of course, it's not 1 or 2 days you can get this kind of power, but you need practice. You keep on practice, then only you have the chi. Normally when we teach the students, we are not only teach them the arts, the fighting arts and the self-defense arts, but we also teach them the philosophies and morals. Okay. And for the students, we always ask them to think and have, so that they can have a positive thinking, so that they can learn and train by themselves.
This is another example of a traditional Chinese residence. It is now used as an art gallery. When entering, we immediately see the handiwork of one of Penang's master calligraphers, Wang Shan-yi. We asked the gallery owner to introduce us to the artist. We had been trying to reach him for nearly a week. And just when we were about to give up on meeting him, we couldn't resist the urge to film the exhibition. Fortunately, the weather, which had been overcast for days, started to clear up, and the sun's beams started to shine. While filming his works, the elusive artist makes an appearance. He is reluctant to speak in front of the camera, but his art calls him to say a few words. He starts to do some of his work for us. Watching him work carefully, slowly, quietly, but emphatically creating works with his brush is an enthralling experience. Using a variety of techniques, he prepares a few pieces. At the same time, he explains his work. As he speaks only a little English, people in the exhibition room provide assistance with the translation. It could be due to the fact that, as an old English colony, nearly everyone in Penang can speak English. Different techniques are used for works that carry different meanings. For example, to write the word dragon, it is necessary to curve the text similar to a flame. The word water must be written in a more flowing, liquid style. The master calligrapher gave us one of his pieces as a gift, which is completely, genuinely kind-hearted. Now placed on a wall, the piece reads, "Real conversation is more satisfying than wine." In a place like Malaysia, which consists of so many different cultures, there are bound to be hybrid cultures. Babylonia is an example of this, and is a combination of the Malay and Chinese culture.
Welcome to the Penang Peranakan Mansion. Now, this mansion is the home of the Baba Nonias, and Baba Nonias are very special people. The Nonias are the ladies, and the Baba are men. Now, in those days, long ago in China, the men from the southern part of China came and sailed in the big armada treasure ships, the Ming Dynasty. They sent their armada ships to Malacca, and while they were here, they were at port, and some of them were doing business. They eventually settled down and married their local women. So when the Chinese men married their local ladies, of course that's enculturated into the home. Chinese customs and culture is followed, but where dressing is concerned, of course the women take over. They were local ladies, and the food too, they cook with Chinese method of cooking, but they use a lot of local herbs. In Penang, Baba Hokkien, which is Hokkien with Malay words inside. But in Malacca, it is the opposite. They speak totally Malay with Chinese words inside, Hokkien words inside.
Actually, there is a difference between the Baba culture in Malacca and Singapore with that of Penang. All the Penang people, they speak basically Hokkien, mixed with this English, Malay, Hokkien, a bit of Mandarin and Cantonese, and all the Malaysian languages which they feel comfortable to absorb, they absorb.
The Babanonians lived in a golden era where there was Queen Victoria, Empress of all India, and the entire British Empire, and the Qing dynasty. So with these two influences coming into our lives, you see in this mansion everything that is so grand and ostentatious and wonderful, because those two were very grand eras by itself. So you see in this mansion, we have the Chinese lattice screens and opium beds that's from the Qing, with nice porcelains, the famille rose greens and pinks, and also the earphones and the statues and the Venetian glass and cranberry glass and beautiful lamps and etched glass. So in this mansion you can see that you may think that it's a confusion, but it's a beautiful confusion. I would say it's something like the Baroque period of the Peranakans, where East and West met, and it was the best of the East and the West.
来来来，再敬你一杯。
今宵离别后，何日请再来？
This Nyonya art, like I told you, either arts or culture, all these there are influences of cultural elements from other cultures, because that is what they feel they should do. Because if they were totally Chinese, there won't be any difference between them and the Chinese. And they have resolved to settle down in new places, and they should be in a way unique. They have their own identity. It could be considered as a subculture, but where does it belong? Subculture of the Malays, subculture of the Chinese is somewhere in between. It could be a wholly a different culture, but it's connected to the Malays and the Chinese, and we cannot really say that they are having their own unique and separate culture. It's interrelated.
这杯清醒的小菜，人生难得几回，醉不翻更何待？
嘿，最后一杯，干了吧！
今宵离别后，何日请再来？
In 2008, Penang joined the list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. During recent years in particular, tourism has risen by a large amount. This has had, unfortunately, deteriorating effects on the city.
Penang is becoming, since 2008, Penang was listed by the World UNESCO as well as Malacca as a World Heritage Site. So it's recognized by those society, and it became well known internationally. Example, prices have gone up in guest house, and many tourist spots is increasing, like guest house around here, more guest house, more cafe, more restaurant, due to the demand of the tourists. Yeah, and also as a local, you can see that since 2008 until now, a lot of changes. Yeah, I think there is development and there's also good and bad.
Where once there used to be small shops, including craftsmen, now we see new boutique hotels and restaurants and cafes with Western menus. Instead of classic wooden houses, the local people now live in high-rise condominiums. Areas outside of Georgetown are now being developed at a very fast rate. The sea is now avoided due to this industrialization. Penang is losing its soul alongside this modernization. Can its hundreds of gods protect it?